So I'm not a huge fan of syrup. I think the biggest problem is that the matchup system sucks. I find oftentimes within the first 5-10 minutes, you already know who's going to win because one team has the entire map and they kind of keep the entire map. There's very few that I find that are actually pretty fun where you battle it out. So beyond having fun, the goal of Syrup is to try to get as many of your players to get 180,000 points, regardless of whether you're going to be on the winning team or the losing team. This is one of the matches where I was on a team that was handily beaten pretty quickly. We had very little map occupation pretty much the entire time. But the funny thing was that about as many of our members hit their 180,000 points as the opponent's team members. It is obviously much harder to earn points when you have no building occupation. So our players did a very good job getting points despite the fact that we were outmatched and handily lost. And if their number one person on points pulled back a little bit on the base hits, it actually would have saved these members that were 17 or lower on points and would have helped them get their points. I just wanted to do a quick recording. So when you have somebody that just goes around and attacks everybody's bases, it can really hurt the other people on your team. So this match is almost over, and there's quite a few people on their team that don't have their 180k because their Stellar 5 was just going around hitting bases. And it's pointless, obviously, because they have the entire map. So once you have the entire map, I mean, have your fun, but try to make sure your team gets their 180k out also. So just some advice. Hitting bases is absolutely a great strategy for Syrup, but you need to be careful that one person on your team doesn't get all the points. The troops are kind of like a limited resource. Once they're in the hospital, a lot of people are not going to spend 20 days healing their troops just to get their butts handed to them again. And actually, we did all pretty much leave the map and come back so that we had a refresh of our troops. But with that just like further proves the point that if the other players were able to hit us at all, they would have easily been able to get points. They just didn't have the opportunity because the one player hit everyone. In this example, it was one whale versus a very strong team, but this is also the case where like I'm not a whale and I went around and played very aggressively one match and I filled up the opponent's hospitals, and then they had no troops. So I ended up being the only one on my team that made the 180,000 points, and nobody else was able to get points because they were just slowly generating them in the buildings. After that match, I was a little bit more cognizant of kind of how careful you need to be with the fact that troops are a limited resource and that's your best way to get points. And if one person kills off all of the troops, then it can really, really hurt your whole team. I understand that giving advice in a situation like this seems silly because my team did lose. But like I said, I've been on both winning sides and losing sides of doing a play like this that is not a very smart play. And anytime you make a video like this, it's going to come off as being whiny or braggy. So if you're on the winning side, you're bragging. If you're on the losing side, then you're whining. But I'm just trying to explain the math and how to be more careful and how to help your team.